Hi, I'm Val the Realtor. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to have a rapid fire Q&A, some of those burning questions that keep coming up as I deal with buyers. The last time I had a Q&A, it was a fireside chat, and you can watch that video here with some of those top 5 questions. Today though, I'm going to try and focus a little bit more on buyers because I get a lot of questions, especially as the 2021 market has unfolded. If you like what you see, please hit like, subscribe, share, and comment below. I'm always open to your questions and suggestions for future content. I put a video out every Friday and I look forward to seeing you here each week. The first question I get, when is the best time to buy? Well, it's 2021 and now we're in a seller's market. So after 5 years of buyers kicking tires and thinking maybe it's not a good time to buy, and now they all want to buy, the best time was probably a couple of years ago. But failing that, within our calendar year within Calgary and the way our market works, the best time to buy is when you have the least amount of competition. And that would be July and December. So basically right now, and again in December. Other than that, any time of the year, there's always inventory and we can always negotiate a good price for you. But the spring market that we just went through was a bit of a feeding frenzy. So probably the best time to buy if you don't have the stomach for multiple offers is not in the spring, from February to May. But as we head into the summer, particularly into Stampede, things slow down and it does tend to favor the buyer, even in a seller's market, because there's just less buyers buying right now. The next common question that I often get is, what kind of property inspection condition can I include? So in the contract, it gives you a property inspection, but there's an option to have additional inspections. It is the seller's assumption that a property inspector is going to be licensed and is going to be looking at all the regular latent defects, things that are visibly apparent when the inspector is going through. The roof, the windows, the basement. We're not tearing apart walls. We're not even opening light sockets or switches to see if there's aluminum wiring or copper wiring. We're only looking at the panel. So it's a very surface inspection, what you see on the day you do the inspection. Some people want to go a little bit deeper, especially for a rural property, a higher price property, or a home that's older, which is a very common issue, especially we have a lot of homes in the 50s, 60s, and 70s here in Calgary. So you may request additional specialty inspections, but we now need to specify what those are going to be so they don't all fall under the umbrella of the typical property inspection. So of those, one of them may be a sewer inspection. It's becoming increasingly popular, especially in a neighborhood with a lot of trees. We don't want to see tree roots growing into the sewer lines, and if we do, we just want them to be small, that they can be augured out and not actually damage or even collapse the sewer line. And the sewer line, for those of you that may not know, that's where all your gray water goes. And I'm talking the toilet water, I'm talking the shower water, and everything that goes down any of your drains. So you definitely want to make sure that's working, and that's not something a property inspector can see himself. So what they do is they basically take a camera, they put it down the main drain in the basement, they snake it all the way out about 80 feet or to wherever the main sewer line is, and make sure that it's unobstructed and in good condition. Often in homes that are in the 50s, we might see some corrosion, rust, of course grease buildup. In the 60s, depending on the neighborhood, we often start to see tree roots. Even in the 70s, 80s homes, I've seen some tree roots. So that's a good inspection to consider. We did have a little flurry of activity for radon inspections, and again, that has to be listed separately. The problem with a radon inspection is, for example, right now in July, it's a complete waste of time because everybody has their windows open, they may have air conditioning or not have air conditioning running, so you're not going to get a true value for what that radon level is at. You need to be in the winter. The other problem is during your condition period, which is usually only 2 weeks, it's not long enough to measure accurately the radon level reading in any particular home. You need 90 days with a sealed up house in the winter with the heat running. So radon to me is a bit of a waste of money, and I think whether there's high levels of radon or not isn't going to impact you because radon can be remediated. On a rural purchase contract, there's even more opportunities for specialty inspections. So it's already written into the contract, we're just adding in the dates and times that we're going to get them done. So you may have a potable water test. You may want to see a drill report for the well. You may want to do a septic test. I've often seen, of course, the infamous radon test comes again because often out in Springbank and Bears Paw where there's a lot of rock, people are more inclined to want a radon test. So we add those in. All of those expenses are borne by the buyer. So make sure if you've added in an inspection that's a specialty inspection, that's going to be your cost. And you're going to still have to complete it within the timeline that we've specified for the condition period. Inspections can cost, I'm going to just say, an average of $500. Condos are a little bit cheaper. They might be $300. An acreage could be $600 or $700 depending on the size of the property. It does largely depend on the square footage. As soon as you get over 2,000 square feet, the price bumps up. As soon as you get into a condo, the price bumps down. During COVID, we had a lot of inspectors that clubbed together so the two of them could go in there and get it done faster, so you're not stuck in a house for 4 hours waiting for an inspection. They were getting them done in an hour and a half to 2 hours by doing them together, and that was quite effective. It reduced the amount of time people were in the home. And then you had double sets of eyes on the property, which is always helpful. The other thing I sometimes see, if we have a specialty HVAC system, sometimes I've seen a gas-fired boiler system in a residential house, which is normally a commercial application, so you might want to bring in a special HVAC. He may charge you $125 for a house call to give you that inspection because they don't routinely do a full inspection. It can't be invasive. They can't be taking it apart and cleaning it or checking the motor or any of the blowers or any of that stuff. So that's an option. And then sometimes where we have a cedar or concrete tile roof, I've seen some of my buyers want to bring out a specialty roofer. Inspectors don't like to walk around, especially on the concrete tiles up on the roof, because they don't want to risk any damage to the roof. But a regular roofer can come up, is insured, and he can actually check out the roof for you. So that's another specialty inspection. Other than that, when we go through a property, if I see a red flag that I think, hey, we should get somebody in here who's a specialist above and beyond the property inspector, we just have to write it in. That's what it comes down to. The next question I get a lot is, what about buying an estate sale? And what additional steps are involved in buying an estate property? One of the big things with an estate is that we always have to have probate before you can actually get legal possession. Having said that, if we don't have probate yet, that doesn't mean you can't move in. It's just you won't be able to renovate, paint, and do everything else. You will be considered a tenant or tenancy at will. So in this circumstance, when we're buying an estate, first of all, when we write the offer, we can't always put in a possession date. We can try, because sometimes we have a guideline from the courts of when we're expected to have possession, such as mid-March or late August. It depends. Right now, the courts are super far behind. They're very bottlenecked with COVID. We've had a lot of real estate that had to be disposed through the courts with estates and probate in mind. So right now, what used to be a 3 to 4 week wait and became a 3-month wait, we're now looking at 4 to 6 months. So if you need a property tomorrow, an estate sale is probably not a good option for you unless we know probate has been granted and we can guarantee a possession date. So one of the great things about an estate sale, if probate has been granted, is yes, you can get a good price and you know you're moving in and largely things are original or they've only been touched by the owner. Usually they're sold as is, where is, no warranties or representations, because the person who actually lived in the home is no longer alive to tell you what they've done to the property or explain what they did or didn't do. Did the basement leak? Was there a problem with the attic? All that kind of stuff. We have no way to verify that information. So that is one of the risks that you bear as a buyer. The other thing about estate sales is they usually want to unload them pretty quickly. So if probate has been granted and you can provide them with a quick closing in 30 days or less, you're more likely to get a better deal. So let's say you're buying a property that's an estate and probate has not yet been granted, but you do need a place to live. Fair enough. Usually the lawyers with the estate will arrange for tenancy at will. It used to be tenancy at will was $1. That we just had a flat fee because we knew the grant of probate was right around the corner. But right now there's a backlog in courts and there has been a lot of probate rejected. The application's been rejected because there's been an error in the application and it goes to the bottom of the pile and it starts all over again and that clock starts all over again. So lawyers are no longer allowing tenancy at will for free. They're requiring that you make an interest payment to the equivalent of the amount of your proceeds that are not being paid out because the sale hasn't transferred yet. The problem with that is short term, it's not a big deal. It might be $100 a day, $75 a day, depending on the sale price of your property. However, If it's a longer extended period of time, you would have been cheaper off to just stay in a hotel or an Airbnb or rent on a short-term basis, because the cost of the interest on a daily basis is going to add up. It's not going to be worth it to be in that home. The other drawback with being in your estate home as a tenant at will, you're not allowed to paint. You're not allowed to start demolishing those walls. You can't even change out for new appliances that you have on order. You can't do any adjustments to the property until the grant of probate has been received, because there is a higher volatility of risk that something could go wrong, so they won't let you touch the property. All of this to say, patience can pay off in an estate sale, and it is lovely to inherit the provenance of a property that hasn't changed hands in decades. So definitely worth the wait. The next question is twofold. First, do I have to show ID to buy a home? And secondly, why do I have to show ID to buy a home? So we have this lovely new law, FINTRAC, and it's evolved over the last 10, maybe 8 to 10 years since it's come into effect. And it's probably one of the biggest sore spots because it's additional paperwork that we as realtors have to do, but also your lawyer. So we've often questioned, why do we all have to do this paperwork? Well, first of all, it's for your protection, as well as the protection of the other party in the transaction. We want to make sure everybody is who they say they are. Some realtors will ask for your ID before they will even take you across the threshold to view a property, because they have to make sure that you are who you say you are. They're not doing a background check. They're not checking your credit rating. We're just verifying if you say you're Jane Doe or if you say you're Mary Smith, that you truly are those people, and we can take you through. And then if there's any issues, we have recourse. We have to do that because we unfortunately don't live in the best, nice world utopia anymore. There's crime, there's deceitful people, and so we have to do that. When it comes time to do your paperwork and you've purchased a home, the FINTRAC application is a little bit more extensive. So not only are we going to ask to see your ID, we have to know your occupation, and when you provide your deposit and we do a receipt of funds, we may even have to ask you the bank account that was affected. So basically we have to know where the money's going from and where the money is going to, because there's a government body that is following the paper trail on all funds that transact in large purchases in Canada. In fact, I think in North America now. So don't take it personally. We're not looking at your photo, but we do have to see some photo ID before we can do a transaction for you. For my last question, because it's a heat wave, I often get asked, what about air conditioning? I get, how come there's no air conditioning? Can I add air conditioning? Do I need to get condominium approval to add air conditioning? So today, I also wanted to address air conditioning. The first thing I often get is people moving from Ontario say, why don't these houses have air conditioning? Does it have central air? No, it doesn't have central air. The reality is close to 70% of all Calgary residences do not have air conditioning, and we've never needed air conditioning, usually because it gets cool at night and we open our windows and air it out the good old-fashioned way. We do have an extreme amount of sun, so it is important to close your blinds, curtains, whatever window coverings you have during the day to prevent the house from heating up. There is a whole art to keeping your house cool without air conditioning. All of that went out the window the last couple of weeks because we've had a crazy amount of heat, and air conditioning is top of mind for everybody. With new construction lately, we have been seeing more air conditioning rough-ins go into homes, and in some townhomes where they're stacked and obviously hot air rises, we're seeing more air conditioning units go in or become an option when you're buying it new. So to answer some of your questions, likely no, it does not have air conditioning. Does it improve the value of the home? Not really, but it does these days, right now at this time of the year. Can I add air conditioning? That answer varies from condominium to condominium where you're adding it to an attached dwelling. So I just recently had a townhouse purchase, and that was important to them, and they asked and they said, no, you're not allowed to add central air because nobody wants it sitting out on the back patio and listening to it hum, and the complex is designed such that the noise would have been prohibitive to people enjoying their outdoor space. However, they will allow portable window air conditioning units. I've had an apartment building where they will allow you to add central air, and there was a rough-in, and you had to look on the drawings to find exactly where that hole was for that rough-in to add it to the inside of the house to connect to the HVAC. For a house itself, yes, you can have air conditioning. You can add it right now. The wait is a couple of months. Most of the HVAC guys are getting about 100 phone calls a day, so you'll be put into the queue, and hopefully by fall or Christmas you'll have air conditioning, which of course isn't going to do you a lot of good now, but it'll be ready to go next spring. To add air conditioning to a home that's already got a gas furnace and ductwork, it's not a big deal. It depends on the unit that you pick. For the average home that's anywhere between, let's say, 1,200 square feet up to 2,000 square feet, and you're just going to air condition your main level or second floor, you're probably looking at anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 now. Yes, that price has jumped. Thank you, COVID. There is a shortage of air conditioning units, and there is a shortage of the materials and parts that go into making an air conditioner. So here in Calgary, we're going to be sweating it out. And myself personally, hopefully this will be my last summer sweating it out, because I am in the queue to get air conditioning. Yes, I'm going to pay that money and get it. So that is all the questions that I'm answering for you today. Please stay tuned for my next episode next week and my next fireside or rapid fire Q&A. That's it for this week. I hope you'll join me again next week. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit subscribe and the like button. Comment below and share, because I do like to share my passion for real estate with others. See you next week. Here we go again.
You're gonna laugh, aren't you? All right, let's get it together. Action.
Sorry,
I'm gonna stop that.
The first question that I would like to start all over. Start all over.